Hello comic fans, welcome back to 13th Dimension Comics. Today is going to be the second video in my response to Comic Collector Geek's challenge from last week for covers. These are crossover covers. I already did one video which was all Spider-Man crossovers. Now I'm going to do another video. This is going to feature 10 or 11 books that don't have anything to do with Spider-Man. So we can go ahead and get into that. So here we have Aquaman number 4, and where he has a little crossover with Lobo. I always liked Lobo. I thought he was a cool character. I wish they would bring him into the movies in some form or fashion. He was in, I want to say, the Superman cartoon back in the 90s, early 2000s maybe. But I haven't seen him in the movies yet. They haven't done that. But I think he'd be a real cool character to have in the movies. So this is Aquaman number 4, where he crosses over with Lobo. All right. Up next, we have the Flash number 162. He does a nice little crossover with Shazam. Aren't really two characters that are typically teamed up in comics. I believe they might have both been in the Justice League at one point in time, but for the most part, in the Flash, it's just going to be the Flash. So whenever Shazam or Superman or everybody else shows up, it's typically going to be considered a crossover. So this is a crossover of the Flash with Shazam. All right. Next, we have a nice one. This is Black Panther number 517, where he does a nice little crossover with Luke Cage. So this is a story where Luke Cage goes and meets the Black Panther. I don't know if they fight. I haven't read it. I just like the cover, so I bought it. But I haven't really read it, so I really don't know what the storyline is there. It looks like they're fighting on the front, but I would assume, like most of these, they probably fight for a couple of panels, discover they're on the same side, and then they team up to fight against whoever the villain is. But could be wrong. Like I said, I haven't read it, so I really don't know. But this is Black Panther 517, starring Luke Cage. All right. Now the next one we have is Captain America number 100. Now I know Captain America is connected to the Avengers quite a bit, but as you can see down here are the Avengers. However, this is Captain America's own title. It's not the Avengers. So I consider this a crossover where his team crosses over into his self-titled comic. To be honest with you, I believe this was after he was a part of the Avengers and then, moved on to doing his own thing. So for them to come in there, I consider it a crossover. So it's Captain America 100. Anyway, you can see this isn't a great copy. The other ones are much more recent comic books, so they're in pretty good shape. In the nines, easily mid and high nines. This one's going to be a little bit lower, especially with all that wear at the bottom. So this is probably very good, like a 4 maybe. I'm going to show it to you again over here. This is Captain America number 100, the Avengers crossover. All right. Up next, we have another more modern book. This is going to be in pretty good shape. It's the DC Universe versus Masters of the Universe. So you can see on the cover the DC characters, Green Lantern, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Cyborg. There is another cover, an alternate variant, whatever you want to call it. Goes over here. It has all the Masters of the Universe characters. To be honest with you, I don't know what it looks like. I would assume it has He-Man. I'm guessing it probably doesn't have any villains since this doesn't have any villains. So it's probably He-Man, Tila, Man-at-Arms, Buzz-Off, who knows. But I just got it because I do like Masters of the Universe. But I never got the variant cover. Never found it in the shops. But this is DC Universe versus Masters of the Universe. Alrighty. Up next, we have King Size Annual Avengers number 10. So I know you're probably wondering, okay, well, it's a crossover. If you look at the very bottom here, I believe it's the X-Men crossover to the Avengers. Now this is actually the first appearance of Rogue, who is not on the cover that I'm aware of. But this is the first appearance of Rogue, and this is a crossover of the Avengers. And at the very bottom is a little guest star of the X-Men. This is also the first appearance of Madeline Pryor, but I believe she's just a child in here. I don't think she's an adult yet. There's the first appearance of Rogue. It's probably a 5.55. And this is Avengers number 10, King Size Annual. Alright. This next one is one of my favorite characters. Not really very popular character overall, but I always thought he had a really cool design. And this is Death's Head 2. And as you can see, guest stars the X-Men. So this is a Marvel UK comic, so he didn't really cross over with the X-Men or anything like that too much. But in this book they did. So this is Death's Head 2, crossing over, number 1, crossing over with the X-Men. I guess this is a more modern book. This came out in the 90s, so it's not in bad condition at all. But I always like the design of Death's Head 2. I like the design of the original Death's Head, but I just like Death's Head 2 more. Like I said, he's not a super popular character at all. Now I'd love to see him in the MCU. That'd be great, but I don't know that that would ever actually happen, just based on the popularity. But you never know. You've seen a lot of other characters in the MCU that are very minor characters, such as, recently we saw Porcupine in She-Hulk. So you never know what could happen. Now this is Spawn meeting Batman. I like this cover a lot. I like Todd McFarlane's art. The reason this isn't bagged or boarded is because I have this in a window bag typically. This is one of the ones I'm considering sending off to have McFarlane sign and then have CGC grade. So that's why it's not in a traditional bag and board, because it's boarded and bagged in a window bag. So I can send it off to have it graded. But this is Spawn Batman number 1. Actually, it's just Spawn Batman. There's no number 2. So now I have heard that McFarlane is working on doing another Spawn Batman crossover. So at that point, I guess it could be considered number 1. I think there's another one actually called Spawn Batman War Devil, I believe is what it's called. I don't have a copy of that, and so I've never read that. I've never even seen it. I've just heard about it, but I can't imagine it's that rare. I'm sure I could get it pretty easily. Just never tried. Alright, so up next we have Snake Eyes and G.I. Joe crossing over with Transformers Generation 2. This is G.I. Joe starring Snake Eyes number 139, so you can see Cobra Commander and then Megatron in the background. Again, this is a more recent comic. It's from the 90s, so it's not even going to be in bad shape at all. But that is G.I. Joe featuring Snake Eyes crossing over with Transformers Generation 2. They also did a G.I. Joe versus Transformers book, but I was not a fan of the artwork in there at all. It looked it just didn't look very good to me, so I only have one issue of that. I didn't really bother buying any others. Alright, so the last book we have is actually going to be Army of Darkness versus Reanimator. So that would be Army of Darkness and Reanimator doing a little crossover together. You can see Ash with his little chainsaw arm in the front. I'm assuming all of these things are what Reanimator brought to life. I really don't know, to be honest with you. Never read it. I just like the Evil Dead, Army of Darkness, Reanimator universes, so that's why I bought it. But yeah, this would be a more recent comic as well. But this is Army of Darkness versus Reanimator. Alright, so that is going to be the last book for this crossover cover challenge. I am going to be doing another video in just a second, which I'll release it around the same time as I release this one. It's going to be in response to this week's crossover, this week's cover challenge by Comic Collector Geek, and that is to find comic books that have been made into either TV shows or movies. So I do have a few of those I'm going to get together. I've already gotten them together actually, and go ahead and do a video on that in a couple seconds, and then I can release both of these at the same time. As always, I do appreciate staying until the end of the video. If you enjoyed the video, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe, turn on notifications so you'll be made aware when I do release new videos. Every Wednesday I try to release 2 videos of my Amazing Spider-Man comic collection video series, so you can keep a lookout for those because those come out on Wednesdays. But like I say at the end of every video, no matter what anybody else tells you, always just collect what you love. Later.